People love to say, gold is everywhere. Technically, that's not a lie. There's gold in seawater, dust, and electronics, scattered across the Earth's crust. But here's the truth most people miss. Gold isn't everywhere in a way that matters. Not in the kind of concentration you can recover. Not in the kind of placement you can predict. Not in the kind of deposit you can actually work. Gold isn't evenly distributed. It's selective. And that's the first trap. Because when people hear gold is everywhere, they translate it into, if I search long enough, any spot can be a gold spot. That belief doesn't just waste time, it trains you to ignore what actually matters. Because gold doesn't show up like a neon sign, it shows up like a whisper. Most people only listen for shouting. The beginner mistake, random sampling. At the start, prospecting feels like hope. You see a creek bend, a gravel bar, a spot that looks right, so you dig, you pan, you test. And when nothing shows up, you don't think, maybe this system doesn't trap heavies here. You think, maybe I'm missing it. So you move a few meters, then a few more, and your whole day turns into random sampling, like a lottery with a shovel. That's not prospecting. That's gambling. The shift. Stop searching for gold. Start searching for proof. Stop asking, is there gold here? Start asking, would gold behave in a way that ends up here? Because gold doesn't teleport. Gold follows rules. Water rules. Gravity rules. Energy rules. Time rules. Once you understand the rules, you stop chasing the fantasy that gold is everywhere, and you start noticing the clues. Not because gold is common, but because the conditions that could trap gold are common. Gold isn't everywhere, but the clues usually are. What clues actually means not lucky signs, not magical rocks. Clues are repeatable indicators, nature's fingerprints. Clues can be places where water loses energy, compacted layers that hold heavy material, black sand that behaves differently in the pan, rusty cemented zones that signal old concentration, bedrock cracks and crevices that act like natural riffles, sudden changes in gravel size and sorting. A clue is anything that answers one question. Has this place ever been able to trap heavy material? Because if it traps heavy material, it can trap gold, not always. But it gives you a reason to test that isn't random. Why gold feels random? Gold feels random because people search on the wrong scale. They treat gold like it's sprinkled evenly. But for gold to end up in your pan, a chain has to happen. Gold has to exist upstream. It has to be released from rock. It has to be moved by water and erosion. It has to hit a zone where energy drops. That trapping has to repeat enough times to concentrate it. That's not everywhere. That's a recipe. Most places don't have it. But even when a place doesn't have gold, it can still teach you the system. Where heavies collect, where flow slows, where old layers form, where the river repeats the same physics. Gold is rare, patterns aren't. The second trap, chasing what looks exciting. Beginners look for dramatic visuals, bright quartz, shiny rocks, big rusty stains, but nature doesn't reward excitement. A lot of rich ground looks boring. Plain gravel, dull clay, dark compact layers that don't look like anything. The best indicators are usually subtle, a color change in the layer, a sudden heaviness in the pan, black sand that refuses to wash out, a compact false bedrock layer that grabs weight. Most people walk right over those signs because they expect the ground to announce itself. But the best ground is quiet. It doesn't try to impress you. It tries to trap weight. Gold behaves like weight. That sounds obvious, but most people don't actually prospect like it's true. They prospect like gold is a special exception, like it appears because a place looks right. But gold isn't magic, it's just dense. So, the fastest way to stop wasting time is simple. Stop chasing gold first. Chase the behavior that traps heavy material. Because if a location can't trap heavies consistently, it won't trap gold consistently either. Gold is a follower, not a leader. Gold rarely travels alone. It moves with other dense materials, magnetite and hematite, black sand, garnets and other heavy minerals. Dense, shot-like particles where people hunted or mined nearby. Any material that drops quickly when water loses energy, these are more common than gold. That's why they matter. If you can't find heavies, you're probably not in a concentrating zone. If you find heavies building up, you found a system doing the right thing. Gold is rare. Heavies are the message. The energy drop principle. A river is a conveyor belt powered by energy. When the flow is strong, it can carry heavy material. When energy drops, it starts dropping heavy material, starting with the densest. That means gold tends to settle where the river is forced to lose power. Energy drops happen when fast water hits slower water. A narrow channel suddenly widens. A steep section transitions into a flatter section. Flow collides with an obstacle and creates a dead zone. This is why pretty spots often disappoint. A bend can look perfect. A gravel bar can look perfect. But if the energy doesn't drop in a way that sorts weight, you're just panning decoration. Slowing down isn't enough. Gold needs a trap. Even when water slows down, gold can still be removed later. Floods don't politely leave your gold behind. Floods reset the system. So gold needs two things: a place where energy drops, a physical trap that holds heavies through multiple events. Natural traps include bedrock cracks and crevices, rough bedrock texture, false bedrock, hard compact layers under loose gravel, clay layers that grab fine heavies, cemented gravels and iron-rich layers that act like a net. If you're only sampling loose surface gravel, you're often testing the layer that changes the most. The richest material usually sits on something that doesn't move easily. Black sand. Powerful clue. Common mistake. Black sand is one of the best indicators of heavy material sorting, but many people misunderstand it. They see black sand and assume gold is here. Not necessarily. Black sand can appear even when there's no gold source upstream. So black sand doesn't prove gold. It proves this. The system is capable of concentrating weight here. That's huge, because it tells you where to focus. Think of it like this. Black sand proves behavior. Gold proves source. You need both, but behavior comes first. Where heavies concentrate, patterns that repeat heavies don't spread evenly. They build in specific microzones. The downstream side of big boulders inside bends where the flow actually slows. The first quiet pocket after fast water. The base of small drops where turbulence loses strength. In bedrock cracks aligned with flow direction, the key isn't memorizing locations. The key is reading the water like a map of energy. Where does it speed up? Where does it slam? Where does it calm? Where does it swirl and stall? Gold doesn't hide randomly, it waits where physics forces it to. How to test like a prospector, not a tourist. Most people test spots. They walk up, pick the prettiest place and pan once. Better method, test to answer questions. Use a simple logic. If heavies increase as you move toward a trap, you're getting warmer. If heavies vanish suddenly, you crossed out of the concentrating zone. If the pan is light everywhere, the system isn't trapping weight here. You're not just hunting flakes. You're mapping the river's behavior. Because once you locate the behavior, you can narrow your search down fast. The uncomfortable truth about easy places. The easiest places to reach are often the most tested. Easy access means more feet, more pans, more people. So if a place is convenient and obvious, you need stronger evidence. Not vibes, not hope. Evidence. Heavies that repeat, traps that persist, layers that hold weight. Gold doesn't care about comfort. It cares about repetition. The real goal of this part. This isn't about learning where gold is. It's about learning how nature concentrates weight. Because once you can read that, gold stops feeling like luck. You stop wondering. You start eliminating bad ground quickly and focusing on the few places where nature is doing the work for you. If gold is the prize, then heavy minerals are the receipts. Because gold is rare, so rare that a lot of good ground won't show it to you immediately, but the materials that travel and settle the same way as gold, they show up more often, they show up earlier, and if you learn to read them, they'll tell you whether you're wasting time or getting close. This is where most people get stuck. They pan once, see nothing yellow, and decide the spot is dead. But nature doesn't reveal gold like a yes or no button. It reveals gold like a trail. First, you see the footprints, then the path, then, if you're in the right system, you finally see the animal. Why gold almost never shows up alone? Gold behaves like density, so it shares space with anything else that's dense enough to settle under similar conditions. That's why experienced prospectors don't get emotional about no gold in the first pan. They look for signs that the river is sorting heavies correctly, because if the heavies are wrong, the gold will be wrong too. And if the heavies are right, but gold isn't visible yet, then you haven't finished the job. The first friend, black sand, and what it really means. Black sand is the classic companion. Usually magnetite and hematite, heavy dark minerals that settle fast and stubbornly. But here's the critical detail. Black sand is not a guarantee of gold. Black sand is a guarantee of sorting. It means the river is doing the one thing you need it to do, separating heavy material from light material. That matters because gold is simply the heaviest thing in the room. So black sand tells you, this spot can trap weight. Then your job becomes more precise. Is there a gold source upstream? Are the traps persistent? Are the heavies building in layers or just sitting on top like temporary decoration? Because black sand can be a shallow signal or a deep one. A thin sprinkle on the surface can be normal everywhere. A dense line that repeats in the same layer again and again. That's behavior. That's structure. That's where you start paying attention. The second friend, garnets and red heavies. In many streams, especially in certain rock types, you'll see tiny red or purple grains, often garnets. They're dense, they settle the way gold wants to settle. They're not valuable like gold, but they're valuable as a message. The river is sorting heavies strongly enough to hold minerals that don't behave like ordinary sand. If you see garnets showing up consistently in your concentrates, especially near bedrock or a compact layer, your odds improve. Not because garnets mean gold, because they mean the system is doing the right physics. The third friend, lead-like behavior. This one is less glamorous, but it's brutally useful. Anytime you find material that behaves like a tiny piece of lead, something that drops fast, resists being washed out, and stays in cracks, your instincts should sharpen. Sometimes it's actual lead shot from hunting areas. Sometimes it's other dense fragments. Either way, it teaches you the same lesson. If something that heavy is getting trapped here, gold could too, if the source exists upstream. It's not about what the material is, it's about what the material proves. The shape clue, flat flakes versus chunky bits. Even when you do find gold, shape matters. Gold doesn't always travel the same way because not all gold is shaped the same way. Flat flakes can ride water longer than you'd expect. Chunkier pieces drop faster. That means a spot might trap lots of black sand and still miss fine flat gold, unless the trap is right. So in part 3, the skill is not spot the gold. The skill is read whether your trap is catching the kind of gold that exists in that system. Because one creek may carry fine flour gold, another may carry small pickers, and the same trap won't always catch both equally. The false positive problem. Heavies without gold. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You can find beautiful black sand concentrates in a place with zero gold source upstream. That's why beginners get fooled. They see heavies and assume they've found the spot. Then they spend days chasing yellow that never comes. So you need one more filter. Heavies tell you the river can trap weight, but only source clues tell you the weight includes gold. So what counts as source clues? Historical mining signs, even subtle ones, quartz, or mineralized rock upstream, not as a superstition but as geology, iron-stained zones in bedrock and old layers, multiple traps showing heavies in the same stretch, not just one random pocket. If the area shows repeated heavy sorting and hints of mineralized source upstream, the odds become real. Not guaranteed, but real. The layer rule. Don't trust the surface. This is where people lose most of their gold, before they even find it. Surface gravel is the layer that changes the most. Floods rearrange it. Seasons remix it. But heavier material, especially fine gold, often ends up at the bottom of the active layer, sitting on something that doesn't move. That something is usually bedrock clay, hardpan falls bedrock compacted ancient gravels. So, if your pan is full of black sand, but you're only sampling loose surface gravel, you may be reading noise, not the real deposit. The real question is, do the heavies increase as you go down? Do they lock into a stable layer? If yes, you're not just seeing heavies. You're seeing a concentrating structure. How this changes your prospecting immediately. Instead of walking around waiting for gold to appear, you build a chain of proof. Do I see heavies? Do the heavies repeat in the same type of trap? Do the heavies increase with depth? Does the area show any source indicators upstream? If I shift 10 to 20 meters, does the pattern hold or collapse? That's how you stop guessing. Gold isn't everywhere. But the friends of gold are much easier to meet. And if you learn their language, you'll know whether you should keep digging or move on without regret. Gold doesn't settle because a place looks promising. Gold settles because it gets trapped. That's the whole game. A river can carry gold right past you for years, and you'll never see a single flake if there's nothing that forces it to stop and lodge. So part 4 is about the difference between a spot that briefly collects heavies and a trap that keeps them through floods, seasons, and resets. Because the richest ground isn't where gold visits, it's where gold can't leave. Trap type 1. Bedrock cracks and crevices. This is the most reliable natural trap. When water runs over bedrock, it acts like a giant riffle, but only if the bedrock has texture. Cracks do two important things. They slow down microflow at the bottom of the crack. They create a pocket where heavy material wedges in. Once a crack fills with heavies, it gets harder for water to remove them. That's why small cracks can hold more gold than a huge gravel bar. And here's the detail most people miss. Not all cracks work the same. Cracks that run with the flow can act like long slots that feed heavies in. Cracks that cross the flow can form little stops where heavies slam and drop. Intersecting cracks. where two meet, can be especially sticky. But smooth bedrock with no cracks? That's often a highway, not a trap. Trap. Type 2. Rough bedrock texture, natural riffles. Even without deep cracks, rough bedrock can trap gold. Tiny ridges, grooves, and uneven surfaces create micro-eddies. Those little slow zones let heavy material settle, then lock in. This is why reading bedrock matters. If bedrock looks polished smooth, like it's been sandblasted, the river has been using it like a slide. If bedrock is rough, fractured and irregular, it's behaving more like a sluice box. Gold loves sluice behavior. Trap. Type 3. False bedrock, the hidden gold shelf. This is one of the biggest reasons beginners miss gold. False bedrock is a hard layer under loose gravel, often clay, compacted sand, hard pan, or cemented gravel. It acts like bedrock because loose gravel above it moves, but that hard layer doesn't. So heavies sink down until they hit that hard boundary, then they spread and concentrate along it, especially in low points and pockets. If you've ever dug and felt the bottom suddenly turn hard and stubborn, that moment matters. Because the richest material in that hole is often right on top of that hard layer, not in the fluffy gravel above it. Trap. Type 4. Clay layers, the glue effect. Clay isn't just annoying. Clay can be a gold trap. Fine gold can stick in clay. Black sand can pack into it. Heavies can settle and then get held like they're cemented. But clay is tricky. A thin clay seam can be a jackpot signal. A thick clay zone can also mean the area is low energy and might not carry new material. So the clue isn't clay equals gold. The clue is clay plus heavies in the same layer equals real trapping behavior. If the clay is clean with no heavies, it's just clay. Trap type 5. Behind boulders and obstacles, the pocket zones. Big rocks create a pressure shadow. Fast water hits the boulder, splits, and accelerates around it. But behind it, there's often a dead zone. Slower water, swirling eddies, reduced energy. That dead zone can drop heavies. But here's the catch. Obstacle traps are often temporary. They can load up after one event and get stripped in the next. So treat them like quick tests, not final answers. If behind one boulder you see heavies, good. But if the bedrock cracks nearby also show heavies, now you're looking at a persistent system, not a lucky pocket. The washaway zones, where gold almost never stays. Knowing traps isn't enough. You also need to know where gold gets cleaned out. High energy zones that often strip heavies. The outside of bends where water is fastest, narrow chutes where flow accelerates, smooth bedrock slides, shallow riffles that constantly churn and remix. Places where gravel is loose and never stabilizes. These areas can still contain gold in transit, but they rarely hold concentrations for long. If you keep sampling these zones, you'll think, gold isn't here. When the real truth is, gold didn't have permission to stay. A simple way to judge any trap. Ask 3 questions. Does the flow lose energy here? Is there a physical structure that can catch weight? Can that structure survive multiple high water events? If the answer is yes to all 3, your odds go up fast. If the answer is yes to only one, you might be looking at a trap that loads and empties like a revolving door. Gold doesn't reward revolving doors. Gold rewards places where nature repeats the same concentration over and over. The prospecting mistake that kills results. People find a good trap. Then they sample the wrong material around it. They skim the surface. They sample the prettiest gravel. They avoid the hard digging. But if you want proof, you test the contact zones. The bottom of the active gravel right on bedrock, right on false bedrock, packed material wedged into cracks, because that's where heavies migrate over time. Gold doesn't float near the top waiting to be discovered. It sinks, locks, and hides where the work is hardest. What part 4 should change in your head? From now on, you don't pick a nice spot. You identify traps. Then you test whether the trap is real. And once you find one real trap, you stop wandering. You start mapping similar traps in the same stretch. Because gold isn't everywhere, but good traps form patterns. And when the traps repeat, the chances stop being random.